Yeah, I mean, you basically said it. I'm sure most people watching this probably know what happened by now, but a bunch of Twitter accounts got hacked. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Bezos, I think Biden, I think even Obama's account got hacked too. And they basically all tweeted like, send Bitcoin to this address. And it's like a old scam that was basically like that, hey, I'm feeling generous, send Bitcoin to this address and I will double it and send it back to you or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of reminds me of the old email scam with like Bill Gates. I don't know if you remember those, but every now and then you get an email from Bill Gates, super billionaire, and saying, hey, I have all this money, I'm doing some research or
Same
something.
exact thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and I'm willing to give it to you. And people were all excited. It's like, come on, give a fucking
Yeah,
break.
so it was that, and the weird thing was though that people didn't know how they were getting into it, because at first people thought it was a two-factor authentication hack, where basically they were just getting into accounts that didn't have two-factor authentication on. Then they thought, oh, maybe they SIM jacked, which is basically where you can steal the SIM card of someone's phone. So when they send the two-factor authentication code, you get it. So there's a bunch of theories.
Yeah, about stealing the SIM card for...
Right, well, that
like-
got... all those were... Because remember, it started with just Elon. And then it was Bill Gates. And then it was like... It became more people. Then it was Kanye. Then it was like... It became more people. And then that theory started going away. And then by the time they had like the Apple Twitter account, the Uber Twitter account, all of the crypto exchanges, Coinbase, Binance, all of Cash App, all of them started tweeting that stuff. So by the time that happened, it was like, okay, something very weird is happening here. And basically, it came out later that...
but before that, I think Twitter actually... stopped
So
certified, all the
Twitter basically stopped all verified accounts from being able to tweet.
From being able to tweet, exactly.
Right, because they didn't want these hackers to keep tweeting from verified accounts.
Right, so verified, obviously the ones with the blue check mark.
Right.
Basically, none of those guys were able to tweet anything. They just blocked them.
Right.
Or not blocked them, but they stopped them from being able to tweet.
Right, for like... I don't know how long it was. I think it was like an hour or 2 hours or something. They couldn't tweet.
In other words, Twitter was trying to figure out what the heck was going on within their own system.
Right. So it turned out not being a hack in the traditional sense of like basically finding a bug in the code or something like that.
Or trying into a server, yeah.
It was, they paid a Twitter, was it a current or former employee?
I don't know.
It's probably current, I would assume.
It has to be current. I mean,
right. So they basically paid a Twitter. Was it one or more?
Well, they for what I read yesterday, and I'm citing I think The Verge or some other third-party sources, but they said that they talked to two of them at least, two of the hackers. So it wasn't just one; it was a group of them.
No, I meant Twitter employees. Was it one employee?
I don't know how many. No.
Basically, they got into at least one or multiple Twitter employees and just paid them for access to their employee accounts. And I guess it came out that the employee accounts have much more control over the platform than people thought. To the point where apparently any employee can literally just tweet on behalf of any accounts on Twitter, which is pretty fucking insane.
So we have two things here. That's the way I wanted to describe it. Basically, the first thing is that obviously you can bribe an employee.
Right.
Somebody bribed an employee to be able to get into their admin account and be able to, basically, it's like somebody breaks into your email server account with the hosting or whatever, and then they can get into your account and have access to it. So that's number one. The fact that one of the Twitter employees, I mean, the system is only as strong as the weakest link, and it looks like the weakest link in this case was actually that you can bribe an employee.
That part doesn't surprise me that much. Bribery happens all the time.
That was the security of Twitter. You can just give somebody money.
It's less, people get bribed. You can't, when you have thousands of employees, you're going to have bad apples.
But
it happens.
Yeah, but you should have some kind of system in place to check that out. But let's just move on.
But my thing is, it's not so much that the employee got bribed. It's that apparently the employees have so much power.
Yes,
over the platform.
that's the other issue, that it brought up the fact that all the things that Twitter has been denying for a long time, including the CEO Jack Dorsey,
so
it turned out to be not true or basically a lie, because they
posted screenshots of the dashboard.
Correct.
That Twitter employees have, and I guess they can basically. There was literally things called search, blacklist, trends, Blacklist, and other things like that, where
I'm gonna make a note while you talk because I want to put a screenshot of the
are you able to
dashboard.
pull it up now?
No, I'm just gonna put it in the show notes.
Okay.
So, but while you're talking, I'm gonna make a.
But basically, they have all these tools that they kind of denied having. They said, oh, we don't block trends. Oh, we don't blacklist people on search, which the search blacklist has been a theory for a long time.
Right.
Because I remember literally a couple weeks ago, I was trying to search for someone on Twitter, and they're like the most famous person with that name. I forget who it was. And they weren't showing up in the results. I was like, this is the most famous person with this name, and they weren't showing up in the results. Right. And then I had to type in their @ directly, and then I found the account. Mm. And so maybe some Twitter employee blacklisted, and I don't think it was even a controversial person, so I don't know why they did that. But anyways, that's been a theory for a long time, and now it was very much proven that they do that. And the ramifications for this are very serious for Twitter.
Yeah, but I know what you're gonna get to, but the other thing is also the trends. I mean, not only for people.
There's search and trends.
Okay.
But the ramifications, and on top of that, the biggest one, employees can tweet on behalf
of users. Right. So in this case, like it happened in this case, I mean,
any Twitter employee, like they went on Joe Biden's account,
right,
and they could have gone on Donald Trump's Twitter account.
It's not like they stole their account and got into their account. No, they went into Twitter, and they were actually able to basically pretend they are Elon Musk or Biden or whatever, and then put their message right there.
Right.
Which seems like, I mean, if all it takes, forget about inventing code or anything to hack into the computers, all these stream firewalls and everything else. If all it takes is money to bribe an employee and just get in there.
And then
those guys have the power to represent or to pretend to be their people. I mean, the user.
It also came out that Twitter employees can see all of your DMs.
That's true.
So don't
direct messages. Yeah.
Don't DM anything on Twitter that is at all controversial, scandalous, anything, because they can see your DMs.
That's another major issue.
It's not encrypted, basically.
That's a major issue too, because everybody uses DM as something to communicate, as a method of communication with another person that I think is private. Saying, okay, I want to give my opinion on something or even communicate with this person, but I don't want to make it a public tweet. I'd rather just DM the person, direct message the person and tell this. And now it turns out that those things, A, are not encrypted, and B, they're visible for everybody that's an employee. And then with the employee turnover that there's in these companies, I mean, those guys can walk away with all the information they want.
Right.
I mean, that's just... so go ahead with your other point, because I think...
Well, the other point was that other people brought up was that if Twitter is basically editing trends and editing search and all of this and what shows up on the trends page...
Managing trends,
and promoting... specifically putting things on the trends page or not putting things on the trends page, then that would make them a publisher, not just a platform.
Exactly.
And if they are a publisher that is basically doing editorial, right? If you do editorial, you're a publisher. If you're just a platform where you just host what people say, then you're not a publisher. But publishers, and this was the whole thing with like Trump a month ago or so?
Right.
That basically now... I mean, Trump
when
could
they
easily
were flagging
take this.
his own tweets and all that, he already threatened to.
Right. Trump could now easily take this, in addition to what already happened, and basically make a real solid case at this point that Twitter is more of a publisher now than a platform, and then regulate them as a publisher, which is very, very different. And basically, Twitter loses all of its protections that they have as a platform.
So Twitter always claimed that the trends were algorithmically set up. I mean, if something is trending, is because there's a lot of people that are talking about the topic, and then the algorithm thinks that trend is trending or that topic is trending. But that's not the case, as you said. I mean, it looks like the trends could be shut down right away if Twitter considers that it's not a good trend, or they can be pumped if Twitter considers it's a good trend, which basically makes them editorial, makes them decide what the platform is doing. So it's not it's a publisher, like you said.
Right. Which basically regulates them
totally
differently.